Aline is a photographer. Her interests combine both geopolitical, political, and art. She has a master's in international relations and post-diploma in digital media art. Her work's subjects are often linked to identity issues such as migration, exile, and cultural heritage. Her first exhibition was in high school at Paris City Council as a young ambassador for UNICEF, advocating for the International Convention on the Rights of the Child for its 20th anniversary. And she created the 3K project with Hussein Farmani Lucy Foundation. She's currently based in Beirut, Lebanon, and works as a freelance photographer, videographer, and cultural project manager. Her work subjects are often linked to identity issues such as gender, migration, mix of culture. I'm repeating. I think I've repeated that. So she also writes for magazines, Photography, Africa. Anyway, I'll let you take over.
Thank you so much, Radhika. But yeah, that's a very long bio.
Yes. Well, you have done so much, you know, in your life.
No, I'm just a documentary photographer, and yeah, and I'm just interested in human stories, basically, and about on the subject of identity and migration and exile, and that's what brings us today together. Also, it's one series that I've made called Salama War in Exile, and I was honored to be asked to do this project by Salam for Yemen, which is co-hosting this event. And when Sadek proposed that to me like 2 years ago, I didn't know how I would like to represent this series because I've never been to Yemen. And at that time we could not go to Yemen because it was still in war and under an embargo. As it still is today, sorry. So I thought what will be interesting is really to describe the life of the people who are in exile, the people who have migrated, especially in Paris, because the community, I believe, is really small compared to other countries like in England or in the United States. In Paris, I think there's only about 100 Yemeni people. So I thought that would be so interesting to know how is it for them to live war across the borders of Yemen. Because of my relationship with my Yemeni friends, including Sadek and his son Sofian, I understood that war never left their mind. It was always something that they had to keep with them you're never cut away from what your family is living. So even though you are in a state that is at peace, yourself, your mind is never at peace. So that was something that I really wanted to talk about because I think that's symbolic violence that is never, that is rarely translated. And so rarely translated and also rarely spoken about. And there's a lot of feelings that can come through being a migrant or a refugee or someone in exile, or also the children of migrants. And that can be shared with, that can stem from guilt, that can stem from despair, but these are feelings that I wanted to try to illustrate. So I will try to show some photos after talking so much. And for that, I will try to share the screen. So let me start share, right? Do I do that?
In the bottom. Says share screen.
Okay, perfect. So, sorry, can you see something now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, amazing. Is it full screen?
Yes.
Okay, even better then.
Well, I can see the photographs at the side as well.
Okay, what about if I do
the slideshow? Yeah.
Do you see it better like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the genesis of the project was how I could try to translate what the diaspora is feeling through my visuals. And I tried with my friend Sofian to put his words and put like an atmosphere on how this weight was always a burden to him in his mind, and how he would always feel linked to his country, even though he was not properly in like physically in Yemen. And when I tried to get other participants in the project, I realized that all of them wanted so much to talk about Yemen, but only a few of them wanted to show their face because of the repercussions they may have, and because of the fear also that it induced. And for me, that was completely new, because I didn't understand to what extent the oppression and the war and the fear was gaining, even for people that were living in France. So I think that tells also a lot about the pressure that people are living even outside of the borders of Yemen. And SADC with Salam for Yemen did a day of the event Salam for Yemen. And a lot of Yemeni gathered for the same thing as today, which is gathering to listen to music, to gather for food sharing. And to my surprise, a lot of Yemeni people came in traditional clothes. And I thought, okay, this is maybe the great spot to put like a backdrop, and maybe to set like a little itinerary studio and see if people would like to talk about it. And I think because of the so welcoming atmosphere, and because they felt insecurity, and because suddenly there was a small community, a lot of people engaged in that photographic series, and a lot of people wanted to be photographed. So you can see that on the right hand side. And so here it begins. These are two children called Hassan and Louay, and you can like read their testimonies on the right. Hassan said, "The war has destroyed the country, but I do not want my brother to be sad." And Louay, who immigrated later on, who was born in France and not in Yemen as his brother, said, "I did not have time to even know Yemen." And so these kids were with their family in that gathering. And for me, what was really important was to show that despite not even knowing Yemen as physically, they are Yemenis. And so the connection to their land is very important, and it will stay even though they will not be able to return to Yemen right now. And the symbolic of the relationship between one person and his city, his country, his heritage, is something that for me is so important to represent, because it is part of who we are. So I'll go to my next slide. This is Selwan as well. She's wearing a traditional Yemeni cloth. It wasn't something that was asked once again. It was something that people did it with pride. They came, no one knew that people would be wearing traditional clothes, and yet they were in the streets of Paris wearing this traditional clothes. And I don't know, for me, it was the first time I saw Yemeni clothes as such, and it was so beautiful. And for them, I think they were so proud also to be able to wear again these traditional robes and dress and beautiful jewels. So you can see on the left, what she says is, "The war in Yemen affects me every day. Since the beginning of the war, I feel desperate for my country. My dream has always been to go back to work and help my country. Now it is shattered. I worry every day for my family in Yemen. I miss them so much. I cannot go back to Yemen to visit them, and they cannot come to visit me in France. This is because of the closing of Sana'a airport, as well as the airfare prices, which have tripled since the beginning of the war." So I won't read all the testimonies, but they're all available on this link that I can give it to you, and I will also give the link to my website if you want to read like all the testimonies. But for me, what was really important was to show the relationship with their cities. And so sometimes there is the backdrop of Sana, sometimes there is the screenshot of the Google map of Sana also, because people like can't go back there. And whoop. This is Amin, the father of Loan and Hassan that you've seen. And he's wearing an interesting artifact that you know much better than me, I think, Rafika, which is the jambia. And yes. If you want, you can stop me anytime if you have questions or if you want to.
Yeah, you have a minute.
Okay. So Bushra, you know, wearing traditional clothes.
Ah, this is lovely. I want to see the baby. That's
Aline. Yeah,
so it's very famous. Yeah.
So she's basically she can't talk, but even at such a young age, she's already separated from her country that she's never known. Sofian talks about the war in Yemen, and then the series goes on like that with images and testimonies that reflect their stories and the way their country is affected. I will stop with this picture because it is a picture of Hannah, and I think it's quite powerful, symbolic, because what she's wearing, for the people that come from Yemen know already too well, but it's the veil from Sana. And she was really proud of wearing that because she was saying to me that this veil is full of color and it's the traditional veil of my city, Sana. And it has nothing to do with the black veil that we can see from stemming from the Saudi Wahhabism. So it is also important, I think, to show this cultural heritage. And I will finish this presentation by a quote from a young Palestinian poet, whose name is Yasmin Gali, and who says, in the face of erasure, preserving cultural heritage becomes an act of survival. And I think that's what those refugees, exiled members of the diaspora were trying to do on that day. And I think that's also what you're trying so beautifully to do today, to present the food, to present the architecture, to present the music, the paintings. All of that is a part of the cultural heritage and becomes, therefore, an act of survival.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. I wonder, is there questions there? Maybe we have some time. So, because we're waiting for one of the panelists who's traveling, in fact.
Okay.
He's supposed to be traveling to, he's in Addis Ababa airport. So, so you, let's see if there's some questions. What wonderful images, strong words. Can we get the link to view them again? Yes, sure.
Okay.
We'll be sharing the link.
I will do that. Yeah. And also, sorry, because I rushed out for the end of the presentation, but the war is still ongoing and we still not go to Yemen. I mean, for me, I can still not go to Yemen, but right now I'm living in Beirut, in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And there is a lot of Yemenis here as well. There is a strong diaspora. And I think what I was interested was not only the weight of being in exile, but was also to show the solidarity that a community can gather and try to overcome and try to hold each other's hands in the face of war. And so if any Yemeni is interested in sharing a story with me, who is based either in Cairo in Egypt or in Beirut, Lebanon, I will be happy to continue the story and to keep this series alive until the war is over.
That would be fantastic. That sounds like a wonderful idea. Somebody's saying there, Brendan Duffy, it's worth putting it in a book. Do you have it in a book?
No, I don't have it in the book. I'm honored to to hear that.
Yeah. Amazing program. Well done on coordinating. Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Okay, so I think we can stop the share. And
Sure.
so tell me, are you planning to go to Yemen when things are easier?
Of course, if I can one day, I will do for sure. You know, I've never known this country. I was supposed to go there in 2011, actually, and then the conflict started, and it was hard to go. But the only things I see about Yemen is all the incredible heritage, cultural heritage. And so I think when a person is documenting, for me, I'm doing documentary, but I'm not doing, you know, I'm trying to avoid the trap of only having press photos where you only see the faces of war, where you only see destroyed families, where you only see chaos, and somehow it becomes normalized to that country or to that region. And it's so easy to have those photos, especially in Western media. But what is important, and I think that's also part of my activism, is to show the other side, the intimate side, the side where despite the war, there is still life. And that happens everywhere. It is universal. And it just shows our humanity. And it's so important to show humanity so people can relate. And so people can hold hands, and at the end, not fall into a Manichaean perspective on one country.
Yeah, definitely. I don't understand why people want war, you know, that's or want to fight for anything, you know, why can't we be living in peace and enjoy the beauty of nature? And yeah, so true. So anyway, thank you very much.
Rafika.